let's get into the time where me and 88 started, messing with each other again, man. So just, you know how it is, just follow the story, man. So anyway, so I'm over at Farrago's nightclub, that's 88's pops, whatever. You know, he, closed the nightclub down and shit, so me, Farrago, few niggas from the crew, we, started, a dice game in the back, what I mean? Cause Farrago not only had an office in the back, but he had like a pool table with niggas to play pool and roll dice on. So this particular night, it was a whole bunch of us, what I mean, in the back of the, the nightclub, the nightclub's closed down. But, some mad niggas back there, Farrago, me, bunch of other niggas, what I mean, probably like maybe 20, 25 niggas, in this little room playing dice on this pool table. So I'm hitting them, boom, every time I roll a dice, head crack, I'm killing them. You know what I mean? Got a text, on my phone, from 88, asking me what I'm doing. I told her that, I'm over at, her pop spot, we playing dice and shit. So, I told her I'd hit her later, what I mean? So, killing them, boom. So, I stroked the motherfuckers probably for like 15 to 18,000, mostly 20s and, 10s and 50s, and what I mean? So, I'm leaving the spot, what I mean? I got, got a fucking Gucci, book bag, what I mean? Gucci book bag. Like I said, filled with motherfucking, money, what I mean? 20s, 50s, 10s, what I mean? About 15 to 18,000, what I mean? So I'm leaving the spot. I'm walking to my car. Phone ring is 88. So I'm like, yo, what up? So 88 like, what's good? You know what I mean? So, spark up a conversation, I get in the car, what I mean? I ain't drive off or nothing. I'm just sitting in the car talking to 88. And then she telling me, how all her kids, that left, what I mean? They went out of town, what I mean? The younger ones are with their fathers, the older ones, they went on a trip, what I mean, together out of town or whatever, so she's by herself, ain't nobody there. So I'm like, okay. And she was like, that she ain't had sex in a minute because she's just been chilling, she said she went on a few dates, but she ain't been having sex, she just, been taking care of the kids and, grinding, what I mean, doing her thing online, far as, like the blogs and, doing her content or whatever. So I said, well, what about you and SD? Like, wasn't you, She said, fuck that bitch ass nigga, what I mean? She was like, her and SD had a fallout, what I mean? But she was like, plus, once he got sick because he was drinking too much, what I mean? They had a fallout and an argument at the hospital, some shit. So I'm like, yeah. So she was like, so yeah, won't you come over, what I mean? Because she was like, and she was horny and she wanted me to come through, what I mean? And knock it down. So I'm like, I don't know, what I mean? And I was like, that, me and London together. She was like, man, fuck that bitch. Yeah, she was like, that she got needs and she was like, she respect the relationship, but, she really wanted that dick. She was like, I want that dick. So she was like, check your phone. So when I look at my phone, it's a video of 88 twerking, what I mean, in the closet, no panties on. So I'm like, damn, this is you now. She was like, yeah. She was like that she did the video. Fired like a few minutes before she called me. So I'm like, shit. So I told her, well, I'll come over there if you strip butt-ass naked and put some sneakers on. She like, what? I'm like, yeah. I was like, my mom's a little different. I was like, I don't know if it's because I watched a lot of pornos in my teenage years, but I like seeing women butt-ass naked with sneakers on. So she laughed. She like, all right. So I said, so you gonna be naked with sneakers on when I get there? So she like, yeah, so I'm like, alright, cause I was like, I already got on like this, Adidas suit, this Adidas sweatsuit, no boxes, you know what I mean? So she like, sound like I'm about to head over. So she like, alright, so, on my drive over to 88 house, I let her know that I'm outside parked. So she like, come upstairs, I mean? She says, the doors, are locked. So I get up there, the door unlocked, and I lock the door behind me. Sure enough, 88, was there, butt-ass nigga with some Pumas on. Nothing else, this butt-ass nigga with some sneakers on. I like that, I mean? And so, she walk up to me, I mean? I throw my tongue in her mouth. She started, taking my clothes off. Boom, we started getting in there. Boom, 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 None of the kids was there, so, we fucking on the couch, we fucking on the floor. We just getting in there. Boom, 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 all the way to the bedroom. Fucking, boom. Busting nut, boom, laying down. So now I'm tripping because I know it's been a minute since I've been to 88 house. So I'm laying in the bed. 88 got up to go, make us a little something to eat, couple sandwiches or something, So I call up Flame, to let him know that I was at 88 house and shit, and plus to let him know that I also beat Farrago and them in the dice game for like 15 to 18,000. So when I call up Flame on video call, Flame like, what up? I'm like, yo, what up, nigga? He like, where you at? I laugh, I was like, nah, I can't say right now. So he like, nigga. So I'm like, yo, what up with you though? He was like, nothing, chilling. So I told him how, I was at Farrago's nightclub and I beat these niggas at a dice game for like 15 to 18,000. I was like, why you didn't come through, my nigga? Like, I'm asking Flame why you wasn't there, tonight. I was like, not only the club was popping, but the dice game after, Farrago closed the club was popping. So that's when, the nigga Flame took his phone and turned it, and I seen Peaches, sitting there. And I'm like, what the I'm like, yo. So Flame is laughing. I'm like, nigga, where you at? So I'm like, you at Peaches' house. He just shook his head. Now Peaches can't hear me because he got the Bluetooth in his ear. So I'm like, wow, my nigga. So, so that's when, Peaches is like, what you doing? That's what she said to Flame. So then, then Flame, I guess, let her see the phone and she saw me. She's like, oh boy. She was like, now that he gonna be all in my business. I'm like, so that's when he took me off of Bluetooth and I'm like, what you mean? And then Peaches was a little, laughing. So, me and Peaches talked a little bit. So now 88 come back in the room excited, like, yo, Bag, yo, Tony, I gotta tell you something. So Peaches was like, oh, she was like, is that 88? And I started laughing. And then Flay was like, oh, I'm like, yo, I hit y'all back. They was like, oh, so I just hung up on him. So that's when 88 hops back in the bed. She's like, yo, I just got off the phone with Rain. Rain said he's gonna be interviewing Finesse 2 times, because, Rain is starting the podcast or whatever. She was like that, he's gonna be interviewing Finesse 2 times and that, he invited me. She was like, yo, can we go, shopping for the event, because she, wanna go. And that she want me to go with her. I'm like, alright, cool. So, she, 88 brings the food back, we eat. Then boom, we get it in again, We get it in again, have sex, boom, boom, fucking all night. Cool, we fall asleep. Wake up the next day, we go shopping, buy a few outfits, whatever. So now, later on that night, we head over to Rainwater's event. He's starting the podcast. He's going to be interviewing Finesse 2 times. So cool. So me and 88, we pop out. We show up, we walk into the spot. 88 got her arm wrapped around mine, So people trying to figure out, like, damn, they together, or, So 88, fat ass switching, walking with me. We walk in there, Skull's there. Few other people in there. No Rainwater's there. Finesse 2 Tom is there. You know what I mean? So now we just chilling in the spot, you know what I mean? Everybody talking, networking, you know what I mean? Chilling. You know what I mean? So, you know, I greeted Rainwater, you know, congratulated him on his new podcast and shit. He like good looking, my nigga, good looking. You know, I saw Skull, but I ain't say nothing to Skull, 'cause, you know, me and Skull had a couple run-ins and shit. But we ain't say nothing to each other. A couple other people was there, you know what I mean? You know, 88, you know, of course she's networking and shit. Got a chance to meet Finesse 2 Times, shook hands with him. I'm like, yo, man, I fuck with your music, man, you know what I mean? He was like, I appreciate that. You know, I got a lot of respect for, you know, Finesse 2 Times. I also let him know, you know, I respect how you know, you did your time, and then when you came home, you got right to the bag, you know, that's some real nigga shit. And Finesse was like, I appreciate that. So that's when 88 told me to take a picture of her and Finesse 2 Times, so I took a picture of them, you know, so that picture you see on 88's community wall with Finesse 2 Times, I took that picture. I also took a picture with him, you know, but I never posted it or whatever, you know what I mean? So cool. So now, Rainwater and Finesse 2 Times, they sitting down, they about to start the, you know, the interview and shit, you know what I mean? So now, Finesse 2 Times and Rainwater sitting down, they starting the interview. They talking. Everybody sitting around quiet. I get a text from Flame texted me, he like, yo, where you at? So I told him I'm at, you know, Rainwater's event, you know, with Finesse 2 Times, you know, I'm here with 88 too. I'm like, why, what's up? He was like, I need to pull up on you. So I'm like, alright, so I text him the address. So I'm sitting with 88. Anybody else while, you know, Rainwater and Finesse 2 Times talking, you know what I mean? Back and forth. So now, Flame texts me like, yo, I'm outside. So when I come outside, you know, Flame and Platinum is in this Audi. You know, they pulled up in the Audi. So, you know, and I stuck my hand in the car, shook hands with, you know, Flame, Platinum, you know what I mean? So I'm like, what's up with y'all niggas? I'm like, yo, why this? So I said to Flame, I'm like, yo, why this look like Cocaine Renee's car? And then Flame said, this is Cocaine Renee's car. He said he gave her a couple grand so he could borrow her car. So I'm like, what? He said, yeah. He's like, the only difference is, I took the license plates off. So I said, you took the license plates off for what? So that's when Platinum said, yeah, we got the drop on that nigga, Lack. You know what I mean? You know, somebody from his inner circle, you know what I mean, just texted us and told us that they over on the north side, they having like a little cookout or whatever. You know what I mean? You know, chilling or whatever. You know, one of his peoples that's rocking with us just text us, told us to come through, come get him right now. So when I looked at the text, you know, Flame showed me, and it said like, yeah, lacking, you know, a couple of the niggas, they out here right now, come get him, you know what I mean? So I'm like, wow. And then that's when Flame laughed and said, hey, you know, money talks, you know, ain't nobody loyal in these streets. I'm like, true. So I said, so that's why he took the license plates off. He was like, yeah, 'cause we gonna slide on them niggas. He was like, yo, you down? I'm like, yeah. So I noticed Flame and Platinum both had hoodies, and they had like ski masks, but they ain't had the ski masks on, you know what I mean? Platinum had his, you know, in his lap, and Flame had his, you know, sitting on his head and shit. So I'm like, but I was like, I ain't got no ski mask. He was like, nah. He was like, in the back seat. So when I look in the back seat, there's an extra hoodie and a ski mask. So I'm like, all right. I'm like, so I was like, give me your phones real quick. They was like, for what? I was like, so they can't ping, us, at this, when we slide on these niggas, they can't ping it. I was like, I'm gonna put y'all phones in my car along with my phone. So they was like, I'm like, come on, man. So I took, Flame's phone, and, I took Platinum phone, and I'm like, Platinum, you should know from before when, I, took our phones from when we did that shit with, I forgot the nigga name we robbed. But anyway, so I'm like, I'll be right back. So I walk over to my car, and I took Flame and Platinum's phone, put it in the glove compartment, took my phone, put it in the glove compartment, locked up the car. yo, I'll be right back. So I go back in the spot. So they still talking in the rain and all. Vanessa all whispering in 88's. Yeah, I'm like, yo, I gotta make a play. I'll be right back. So she like, yo, don't go too far, cause I'm drinking and, you my only ride home. Said, I got you. I said, I'll be right back. So cool. So now I come out. I get in the back seat. You know what I mean? Boom. So now we take off. So now Platinum is in the passenger seat. Flame is, driving. Platinum got his gun. Flame got his gun. Of course, I always stay with mine. So now I'm putting the hoodie on while I'm riding in the back seat. I'm putting the hoodie on. So we talking. So now we about to get back at Lack for that shit he pulled at the video shoot with me. Then Platinum and all of us was doing that video shoot. He sent that nigga dude to shoot at us. Now we about to return the favor. You know what I mean? At they little get together, they little cookout on the north side. So now, we heading to the north side of shit. So boom. So as we get like a block and a half away, you know what I mean? I roll the back window down. Flame opens up the sunroof, you know what I mean? So that way, could we, we put the plan together, I roll down the back window. And then, they open up the sunroof so that way, Platinum's gonna pop out the sunroof. So I'm like, alright, cool. So we looking. We like, alright, so this must be the cookout, not a nigga that texted us and told us, where they was at. He already left. So we ain't gotta worry about, hitting him by mistake or nothing. So I told Flame, cut the headlights off. He cut the headlights off. All three of us got our ski masks on, hoodies on. You know what I mean? So I'm like, yo, so I cocked my shit. So I'm like, you ready? Platinum cocked his shit. He like, you ready? So Flame like, alright. So Flame pulls up to the spot. Boom. Platinum, he stands up in the seat. He gets out. His upper body is sticking out the sunroof. He lets off shots. Boom, boom, boom. I put my hand out the back when I little shots. Boom, boom, boom. I caught this one nigga. Nasty. I caught him. Boom. I hit up this one nigga. Ta 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 ta. I split his shit down the middle. His whole head split in the middle. That nigga dropped instantly. Boom, boom, boom. So people start screaming and running. I'm letting off shots. Platinum's, he's standing in the seat. He letting off shots out the sunroof. Letting off shots. So we just letting off shots at the shots. So after we let off a bunch of shots, I see like 3 niggas running from the back to the front gripping. So I told Flame, drive. So Flame steps on it. He guns it. Boom. He drives. Hit that right. Hit a left. So as he driving fast, I'm like, yo. I was like, yo, go to I told Flame, head to the R45 bridge. You know what I mean? We gotta go to 10th City. So, as I'm saying that, I'm taking the ski mask and hoodie off. Platinum taking off his ski mask and hoodie. Flame got his ski mask off, but he still got the hoodie on because he's driving. So Platinum like, R45, 10th City, ain't that where the homeless people we at? I'm like, yeah, head there. So Flame like, for what? I was like, just trust me, go to 10th City, under the R45 bridge, go now. So we driving there and shit. We hear the sirens and shit heading to where we just left. You know what I mean? We heading to 10th City. So boom, probably like what, maybe 15, minutes later or whatever, we get to 10th City, we pull up. Mad, homeless people out there, you know what I mean? A lot of them sleeping, some of them up, talking. But, it's 10th City, is mad homeless people laying under the I-45 bridge and shit. You know what I mean? Out in Dallas. So I get out. You know what I mean? He was like, why are we here? I was like, yo, just... So I had the hoodie and the ski mask in my hand. I'm like, yo, give me a hoodie and a ski mask. So Platinum gave me his hoodie and ski mask. Flame gave me his ski mask, took the hoodie off. I'm like, yo, Flame put the Flame put the license plates back on the car. So Flame gets out to put the license plates back on the car. And then, I walked up to one homeless guy, gave him the ski mask and hoodie, and gave him a $20 bill. He was like, thank you. I went up to another dude, gave him a $20 bill, gave him the hoodie and ski mask, and gave another dude hoodie and ski mask and $20 bill. And then, as I started walking to the car, I noticed, they started putting the hoodies and the ski masks away in they backpacks and bags and shit, because, most homeless people, they hoard it, so they started putting the hoodies and the, ski masks away. You know what I mean? All I wanted to do was get rid of them shit, so I'm like, fuck it. So as I walked back to the car, you know what I mean? Platinum is, standing out the car, with his hand on his gun under his shirt. Flame is putting the license plates back on. So then as I walked to the car, a homeless lady walked up to me and was like, basically asking for money because she seen I gave, all the dudes, money in a hoodie and shit. So I gave her 20. She said, thank you. So I told Flame, hurry up with the license plates for these motherfuckers sent me home broke. That's when Platinum laughed. So Flame, he finished putting the license plates on. Platinum gets back in the passenger seat, I get in the back. Flame gets in the driver, boom, we take off, we head back to, to the all rainwaters in the event. So I get out. So as we pull up, I get out. I go get the phones out out the glove compartment of my car. I give Platinum and Flame our phones back, and I told them, yo, make sure y'all niggas get low, man. So I shook both the hands, you know what I mean? So they was like, alright, so they take off. I go back inside. So by the time I get back inside, Rainwater and Finesse 2 times, they done doing the interview. So now the music is playing, niggas is networking, talking. So we chilling in there. 88's, basically networking, taking pictures, twerking, you know what I mean? Like, she's like the life of the party and shit. Cool. I'm just chilling, I'm back in the spot. So, as time go on, Rainwater and Skull are talking to 88 and they telling her, yo, you're doing your thing with the, with the vlogs and, and all that. And the content, it was like, as long as you could stay out the drama, you on your way, you could probably be bigger than Tasha K and shit. So, 88's listening, taking, heed to what they saying. She taking Rainwater and Skull's advice. Skull gets a phone call. You're like, hold on. So he steps away. So that's when Rain and 88 talking. Finesse. He's talking to a few of the ladies in the spot. I'm just chilling. So that's when Skull come back. It was like, yo, Deb, it was a shooting on the north side. So Rain was like, what? And so 88 like, what? He was like, yeah, it was a shooting on the north side. Somebody, told me it was a shooting on the north side, So everybody was like, oh, that's crazy. So, so me and 88 probably stayed at the spot for another, 25, 30 minutes, Then boom, we leave, So now me and 88 get in the car. She wanted to get some, some seafood, 88 loves seafood, so, we pull up to a seafood spot. Cause it's probably maybe a little after 1 o'clock, AM, nighttime and shit. So, we eat the seafood, whatever, So now we get in the car to head back to 88's place. So as I'm driving, 88's on her phone. She was like, oh shit. She was like, one of Lack's people, must have died, cause, what I later found out was Lack left the barbecue or the little get together like a hour earlier, So Lack did a post to where, one of the niggas died, so 88's like, yo, Lack just posted about one of the niggas died at that shooting. So she showed me her phone. I saw the picture, so when I grabbed the phone, I'm driving with my left hand. I hold the 88's phone in my right hand, and when I looked at the phone, it's the picture of the dude that I hit. The same dude where I split his head over. It was a picture of him, and the caption said, by Big Lack, it was like, damn, little bro, you really fucked me up with this one, R.I.P. I ain't gonna say the nigga name, but yeah, Lack posted the nigga, was like, damn, bro, you fucked me up with this one. So I looked at the picture, and that's the nigga that I hit. So I'm like, So I just said, damn, that's fucked up. And I hand the phone back to 88. 88 was like, damn. And she was like, the city's getting crazy. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm like, it's like that everywhere. So we pull up to 88 spot. You know what I mean? You know, we go to 88 place. You know, we chill for a little bit. So boom, you know what I mean? You know, we kissing and hugging. You know, so now we sitting on 88's couch. 88 sitting on top of me, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? With no shirt on, you know what I mean? I'm sucking on the breast, you know what I mean? I ain't got no shirt on, so we basically both topless. I ain't got on no shirt, she ain't got on no shirt, but she still got on, like, you know, her shorts. And I got on my pants, so we, you know, kissing, hugging. 88 phone rings. So she's like, at first she ignored it, you know what I mean? No kissing, we getting it. Phone rings again, so when she looked, she was like, yo. She was like, let me take this call, I'll be right back. So she answered the phone. So now she's talking on the phone. I'm sitting on the couch, so, you know, I get on my phone, I'm strolling, you know what I mean? So 88's, you know, still on the phone and shit, I'm strolling. Fire like 10 minutes later, you know what I mean? I hear 88 start screaming. She's screaming, no, no, no. 88 screaming, no, no. I mean, screaming. So I hop up. I run to the back. 88 is on her knees screaming, no, 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 like screaming and crying, no, no. I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? So 88's phone is on the floor, so I grab the phone. I'm hearing somebody crying, a female crying. I'm like, hello. It's her sister CB. So 88 screaming, crying, no, 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 on her knees. And CB is crying, so, you know, they both got the same father, which is Farrago, so my heart started racing, so I'm thinking something happened to Farrago. I'm like, CB, yo, what up? I'm like, what happened? CB just crying, 88 crying. I'm like, so I'm yelling now, I'm like, CB, what happened, CB, what happened? So that's, you know, 'cause I'm thinking something happened to their father, Farrago, so my heart racing. And then, you know, CB, you know, she's crying, but then, you know, she's like, yeah, so, you know, I get CB to calm down a little bit. So that's when CB, you know, told me, you know, CB said that she went to the doctor and that the doctor told her that she tested positive for HIV. Whoa.